Hi, everybody. Okay, so I'm hoping that this works here because this is like my third time recording it. I'm not having a very good day today. Um, okay, first of all, I guess I should tell you what's been going on. So, since the last video, um, I guess beginning of April, end of March, you recall that I had said, like my pay had been suspended or delayed, whatever you want to call it. And the last pay in March um, didn't go into my bank account, and I contacted payroll, and they put in a ticket to look at it, and it turns out that it was delayed. I think it was delayed because CRA got in contact with payroll and they have been targeting me um, since then. So, first of all, I guess before we really get into it, I've got a few things I need to say, and I am saying this right at the very front because I want certain people to watch this video. Um, I went down after I left work today. I was in no state to work today. I pretty well walked out of there in tears. I told somebody I wasn't feeling good and that I had to go home. And I walked out and I was not in a good place. Um, I then got home and I contacted Eric Milano's office and um, I spoke with a lady from Dryden first who let me who who was nice and took some information and referred me over to the Kenora office, which was fine. Um, there I contacted a lady and she was I I spoke with Tammy and she was super nice, like super nice lady. And she tried to help me. Um, and she said she's gonna look into some stuff for me, which is great. And but some of the stuff she openly said it's out of their jurisdiction, like it's a provincial, some of it's provincial, some of it's federal. So the federal stuff she's going to look into. The provincial stuff she referred me to Greg Rickford's office. Now I've been trying to get a hold of Greg Rickford for like 2 years now, and I told her this. And I said, it's super frustrating when something goes wrong and you need an ear, whether they can help you or not, just knowing that you're heard sometimes um, is a great help. And Tammy did take the time. She heard me out. She said she's going to try to look into some stuff, and you have absolutely no idea how much that meant to me. Um, and then I told her how I'd been trying to get a hold of Greg Rickford's office, and I'm just constantly ignored. And she said, well, if that's the case, you can go to the ombudsman's office. She said she really didn't know who the next person up would be to to refer me to. Like she said, I go to the premier, but she thought there might be a step in between. So, and she said, try the ombudsman's office. They can help you or refer you. So that's what I did. I called the ombudsman's office, and and nicely there, I spoke with, I didn't get her name though, and I do apologize for that, but I didn't get her name. And she referred me to she gave me the contact information for the Premier of Ontario, um, Doug Ford, and um, so I sent an email today, and then after that, she said if I don't hear something back from his office in a timely fashion, I can go right to the top to the Prime Minister's office. I didn't even know that was a thing. I mean, it makes sense that it would, but I didn't realize that like just a normal citizen can contact the Prime Minister's office. Um, it makes sense. It just never really even occurred to me. Anyways, so um, and I mean, like, why would it? Like, most people don't really reach out to the Prime Minister that often. Like, it's it's politics, right? Unless you're really into politics, like, why would you, right? Um, but in this case, I feel I have to because of what's going on, and so I haven't contacted the Prime Minister's office yet. I'm going to give Doug Ford's office a day or two to respond, and um, hopefully I hear something back. So, contacted Doug Ford's office, contacted Eric Milano's office. I have an outstanding request for an appointment that I've made numerous times over the last 2 years and constantly gets being ignored by Greg Rickford's office. I'm planning on putting in a complaint with Ontario Human Rights in regards to um, Rickford because um, I should be able to get a hold of my MPP, and that it's not happening, and it's very disappointing that he's discriminating against me and refusing to hear, like refusing to speak to a citizen in his constituent in his area, right? Um, okay, so those are the people that I reached out to today. I also reached out to payroll and the director of of the department that I work for, and um, the director pretty much said that there's nothing he can do, which was really disappointing because I don't feel what's happening is right, and I will get into it and tell you why I don't think it's right. Okay, so this is the scenario. Back beginning of the month, okay, sorry, the end of March, I I didn't receive my last paycheck in March, and they said that there was a glitch because my contract was being extended and something didn't get rolled over in time or whatever. It was a technical thing. I really didn't think too much of it, and I wasn't overly concerned about it at this point because I knew it was coming, and for the next few days I was okay. Well, the next few days turns into a week and a half, and I still haven't gotten paid, and now I don't have money to even go to work. I didn't even have gas money. And I, so I asked my manager if I could just work from home because that used to be a thing. So I know it used to be possible, and she was okay with that for a day or two if need be. And then I got paid, and so I had some money, so I returned to office, but my pay was over $1,000 short. And um, most people at the beginning of the month, myself included, have shelter costs, and whether that be a mortgage or rent or whatever. People in Canada, you have to pay to have a roof over your head, and I'm no different on that score. And they I think they deliberately did it at the first of the month, held off till the first of the month to deliberately hurt me. Because without any warning, without any communication from CRA, without any kind of notification from HR that this was going to happen, or um, messaging from Manitoba uh, Maintenance Enforcement, which it was essentially through. Um, Without any kind of notification, they took over $1,000 off my paycheck. And right now, I've got disconnection notices happening. and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford a roof over my head in the next little bit. Like that's how bad things have gotten. And um and I work full time. I have a decent wage, so things really shouldn't be that bad. But the reality is when you're not getting paid or have $1,000 surprise bill that you weren't expecting, then you know, and they took it off all in one shot. So that's the part that really hurt. And um, so I'll show you the order, and I'll explain the order to you guys so that you understand where I'm coming from. Okay, so this is the order here. Okay, this was the order that was emailed to me. It was created on October 22nd. And it says, okay, so in 6.5, I want to explain this to you guys. So in 6.5, they inputted my income. And, we'll circle back to that, but keep in mind they inputted my income. And the dollar value that they came up with was 564 that I'm supposed to pay monthly. Now, um, um, okay, so 564, but that is not what they took off my paycheck. What they took off my paycheck was over $1,000 at the beginning of the first pay period of the month. Okay. Now, um, or the first pay period of April, right? Now, um, if you scroll down here, actually, I'm going to speak to this a little bit more. So they took off $1,000 at the beginning of April, and in this coming paycheck, I was just notified that they're going to be taking off another 270 some dollars off of this paycheck. So in total, in the month of April, they're deducting $13,065 out of my income. And I don't know how I'm going to survive off what they're giving me. Like I'm working full time. I'm supposed to be earning a decent wage, and I think I'd be earning more on Ontario Works at this point. Like it is that bad. At least then I would know what I'm getting and I would have a guaranteed income, right? Um, it's it's horrible the financial exploitation they're doing. Um, so we're gonna go into this a bit more and talk about how the Manitoba government is operating, why I think that there are people within the government and the Justice Department itself that are supporting a cult like system versus uh, a democracy government. Okay? So, in the court order, it says here Susan Francine Mayaska shall provide Owen Johnson copies of her Canadian Revenue Agency. Okay, so, sorry. Um, All right, so one of the things payroll said to me was that um, what was happening was coming directly from CRA. Okay, so um, so that I kind of went, well, how can they just grab money? Like there has to be some sort of rhyme or reason or something. Like there was no communication. The last communication I got was this court order stating, you know, how much monthly. And all of a sudden I'm expected to pay 13 over $13,000 in 1 month. Like I I notified the director today that I'm not going to be in any state to come into work tomorrow. Like I just I don't know, like um okay, 6.10. It says Susan Francine Mayaska shall provide Owen William Johnson copies of her Canada Revenue Agency income tax returns and notice of assessment and reassessment each year, and it goes on to the date. Okay, so I'll tell you why I think Manitoba judicial system and our justice system and the Manitoba government there are certain parties in it that being um, are acting more as independent bodies and less as representatives of the Canadian government. Okay, now this order was created by a federal judge. Okay, so in theory, this judge represents the Canadian court system, right? The Canadian he's supposed to be upholding Canadian law, Canadian legislation, right? In theory. I mean, from my understanding, that's what judges do, right? Um, but that is not what happened. So I'm gonna show you guys the Income Tax Act. Okay. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. I'm just gonna pull up some of my cheat notes that I made. Okay, so the Income Tax Act. So um, this is section um 241 of the Income Tax Act. And you can see right at the top it says Income Tax Act, right? So, you know, and that's the root the website. And it says except as authorized by this section, no official or other representative of the government of a government entity shall knowingly provide or knowingly allow to be provided to any person any taxpayer information. So this is federal legislation. And right there, it goes against what is in that order. So the judge that created that order, he basically said, well, I don't care what the leaders of our country said or created. I don't care about legislation. I don't care about the laws. I'm going to create my own thing. I'm going to do something completely different. I know better than the leaders. I know better than Congress. I know better than the Senate. Like sorry, I'm throwing out terms here. Um, I'm so flustered right now and upset about everything that is going on. And um um but this justice decided, see, this is why I think that Manitoba is being um ran more like a cult than a democracy government because we have the legislation here, and there are certain parties within the government, within the judicial system, like this order was created by Justice Thompson. Thompson? Yeah. Hang on a second. I will pull up the name. Yeah, Justice Justice Thompson. And so this order violates Canadian legislation, Canadian law. And it doesn't just violate one piece of law. Like there are numerous things in the Canadian legislation to enforce that this kind of scenario doesn't happen. And this justice decided that it doesn't matter. He's going to create his own rules, his own standards, and the hell with um, what the leaders of our country created for legislation. Um, okay, so that was from the Income Tax Act. Now we're going to go to the Privacy Act. Both these are federal law, are federal legislation. Okay, so now from the Privacy Act, personal information under control of government institutions shall not, without consent of the individual to whom it is related, be disclosed by an institution except in accordance with this section. Okay, I didn't give consent. So again, my rights are being violated. And this justice, again, it doesn't matter what legislation, what laws, what the leaders of our country put in place, he's doing his own thing, right? Um, Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. This is again from on a federal site. You have the right to privacy and confidentiality. Under this right, you can expect us to protect and manage the confidentiality of your personal and financial information according to laws we administered, such as the Income Tax Act, the exercise I don't know, excise tax act, and the Privacy Act. Um, and then it goes on to other steps they take, right? Only employees who need your information to administer programs and legislation have access to your information. Well, this order says otherwise. This order says I have to give it to Owen, and who knows who he's going to give it to. He's not under any obligation to maintain confidentiality, and the judge didn't get him to sign any order saying that he's going to keep it confidential. And even if he did, I wouldn't believe him. I would never give consent. Um, okay, so those are three federal things that this one order has violated. Now let's move on to provincial. So here's a provincial one. Um, oh, wrong one. Okay, so disclosure deemed unreasonable invasion, or disclosures deemed to be unreasonable invasion of privacy. And F right here, the personal information, the personal information was collected on a tax return or for the purpose of deeming tax liability or collecting tax. So right there in provincial legislation, okay, so this is from, hang on a second, the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. So that's from one of the provincial acts, right? So right there, it says that is an invasion of privacy, right? The other one I wanted to show you guys is, a second. Yeah. Where is it here? Okay, so this one is from the Tax Administration Miscellaneous Tax Act. And it goes on to say in section 1, a person who has custody and control over records or information obtained under the Tax Act must not disclose or permit access to a record or information except with consent of the person whom the record or information relates. I never gave consent. Okay. Um, and then it goes on. But okay, so now we see two pieces of provincial and three pieces of federal legislation that that one thing in the order has violated. Um, okay, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background history on this order and the trauma and hardship this order has put me through. Okay, now the access to the kids aside, I'm not even getting into access to the kids in this video. Okay. Um, right now, I'm just going to deal with the financial piece. Now, this order, the judge inputted an income double from what I was making in 2022. Now, back then, um, I was dealing with the loss of my mother, and I was getting emails from Alexandra Aquila, who was my ex's lawyer at the time, daily, sometimes 2 or 3 times daily. Like, keep, think about this. I'm working, at the time, I was working at Main Street Project in Winnipeg, and I'm working with highly volatile individuals who are suffering from homelessness, addictions. I have to stay on my game so that I don't get hurt, my coworkers don't get hurt, and I can provide the best quality care to um, to the people who need it, right? And some of these individuals are extremely well, they're all really extremely vulnerable, but some of them are also highly volatile. And um, so here, there I need to be at my best to work with them, and I'm being attacked constantly, daily. There were times when I even have had to administer medication, and which was not uncommon. And how do you stay focused with what you're supposed to do? Meanwhile, you're getting emails constantly from or phone calls from a lawyer. Like a, a, a legal professional shouldn't be able to harass you like daily or a couple times daily. It got so bad that I had to take stress leave from work, which is why I, well, I ended up, I ended up on stress leave for quite a while, and um, I really liked my job there, but I didn't feel safe staying in Manitoba, and um, this order, it's um at the time, because I was on sick leave, I wasn't getting the income I was used to, and I qualified for legal aid. And legal aid couldn't find me a lawyer in time for the trial. And I went back to the court system, and I emailed um, Chief Justice Joel. I believe that's who I emailed, who I was told to email. And he referred um, he referred the question of, can I have a continuance, or you know, can we put the trial later on in the future, because it's not my fault legal aid couldn't find me a lawyer. Like, in Manitoba, legal aid is the one that finds the lawyer for the individuals. It's not my fault that they couldn't find a lawyer for me in time for the trial, right? Like, I was accepted in May 2022 for legal aid. They had from May to October to find me a lawyer, and they couldn't find me a lawyer in that time frame. And I mean, that's not my fault. It's a government funded program, and it's not my fault that they couldn't find me a lawyer in time for the trial. But they couldn't, and so I asked if we could postpone postpone the trial, and Justice Peterson said no. She acknowledged the fact that um, my doctor had given notice, or a note saying that, I'm really not in any position to self-represent. I'm like this close to a nervous breakdown, and yet um, she said, well, if um, if legal aid can't find you a lawyer, you're going to have to self-represent. That's basically what she said in the letter that I received, and I'll show you the letter um, in another video. But legal aid programs in Canada are legislated to provide legal services for economically disadvantaged people, with responsibilities shared between federal and provincial government. The Legal Aid Services Act, um, okay, this talks about Ontario. Um, but for Manitoba, it would probably be the same. Let me just see here. Okay, let's see if Manitoba has one. Manitoba Legal Services Act. So there we go. Legal Aid Manitoba is to serve the public interest by providing quality legal services and representation to low-income individuals, which was me, because I did meet the qualifications. Um, it's just disappointing that um, um, Justice Peterson did that. And then when it came time for court, um, they just proceeded. And like, I was in no state to attend that day. I wasn't well, and um, I was stressed to the max. And I didn't have legal representation, even though I was qualified for legal aid, and I had a legal aid certificate. Like, eh, but the judge went ahead with the trial regardless. And in doing so, I have been under attack ever since. And like, it's gotten to the point where um I'm starting not to feel safe in Canada, to be honest. Like it's gotten to that point because if I'm working full time and I can't survive off what I'm getting, and I have I have the government literally just grabbing at my paycheck, then what kind of life is that? Like, I don't know. But getting back to what happened in the past. So the court trial came and went, and then three in February. This was in October, and then February, the end of October, February came around. I hadn't gotten any information about maintenance enforcement, nothing. And I actually even have it in email stating that they made an error. They meant to contact me but didn't. Instead, what they did was they froze my bank account. They put my mortgage into default. They kept the bank frozen for 6 months until I literally threatened to just end things because I was on the verge of becoming homeless, which ended up happening, by the way. Um, and um, they literally the what happened was maintenance enforcement put my mortgage into arrears by freezing my bank account. They seized the money that I had in there for the mortgage, and they reversed all my bill payments. They grabbed all that money and then they kept the account frozen for 6 months. Well, until April. Sorry, I'm sorry, not April, June. Not 6 months. I guess it was about 3 months because um, it happened March 1st, I believe. And they did it deliberately. Again, they did it deliberately the first of the month when they knew my mortgage was going to come out. And um, they didn't care. The judicial system does not care about individuals. It doesn't care about, I don't even believe it cares about the children because what's best for the children is having, like having both parents in their life. And right now I can't even see my kids and I'm getting attacked. Plus, and I I feel like no matter what I do, I just can't, like, I finally see a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, something to keep me going. And right when I start getting a little bit of hope that things are going to get better, they hit me with something again. And last time they did that, I lost my house. I lost everything. I ended up escaping to well, not escaping, but I certainly felt like I was escaping. I literally left Manitoba um and came to Kenora, and um I've been struggling to find some footing ever since. Like my one of the last jobs I had, um I ended up having to quit because I had to be in court, and or a tribunal, I should say. And they wouldn't delay it, and so I ended up losing my job over it. Like it's constant. And now um Now I got work, I a decent job, nice people I work with, and again this is happening. Like there's nothing that I am like constantly being attacked. And it's not fair. And anyways, I think I'm gonna stop this for tonight and try to relax. And the reality is I might be quitting my job tomorrow. I don't know. I I told the director today that I'm probably gonna have to take some personal time because again, I'm working with vulnerable individuals and I can't work with vulnerable individuals and be worried about if I'm going to have a roof over my head in the next few weeks. Like, what am I supposed to do? Anyways, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I don't even know how to shut this thing off. New program.